Well, your average person lives in a world where this is good, this is bad. If you smoke cigarettes, it's bad. If you have that kind of behavior, it's bad. If you have this kind of attitude, it's good. And I understand this, but this creates a tension and a duality. And it's very hard to find peace in such a place. So in my experience, when I would discover something that somebody says is bad, let's say it's happened to everybody. A group of people say, this is bad, right? So immediately you feel bad. That's the first thing. Especially if you're trying to hide it, so then you feel guilty, then you feel shame, then you feel self-disgust. How is that, in any way, shape, or form, bring harmony? And then they say the harmony is by going towards its opposite. And this kind of dual attitude, I find, is number one, hypocritical. Number two, it's like, well, if you now squish on this and go to the other extreme, you're by your own willpower becoming something else. You're creating another kind of character. Anyways, that's not the direction I want to take, but for me, that I adopted this like everybody else, and all it would do at the end is make me more anxious at a deep level. So I changed my approach. I'm like, in the world of so-called spirituality and in the world of, everything is one, everything is love. For me, one of the most powerful statements you can find, and it's in the Bible, it says, God is love and love is God. And I always had an issue with this, not with the statement. If everything is God, it says so in John 1 verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and everything that was made by Him, and there was nothing that was made that was not made by Him. Something like this. I'm doing it the fast version. In other words, everything is God. That's what it says. We can get into that sentence. It's a powerful sentence. We'll look into it later. And then it says a little later on, God is love and love is God. So everything is God and everything is love. And here we are, and we don't have to be in Christianity, and then we look upon ourselves, and this is a bad behavior. We shouldn't do this. This is like this. This is like that. And I found that, first of all, it doesn't work for me. Second of all, I find that there's a form of hypocrisy. Why is that bad? Well, smoking cigarettes is bad, being greedy is bad, stealing is bad. And so you're always in that place of duality, and I'm like, so I have to pretend that I'm not this so I can be good. But how can I do that if I'm like that? Well, that means you're bad. I don't know if you're following. Are you following? So I said, this is total bullshit. I don't like this. I don't like this approach. I don't like this mind process. I find it's limited. First of all, it just negates that everything is love. God is love and love is God and everything is God. So everything is love. So I don't see it. And then it also creates a duality. And also when we're talking about health or harmony, it means bringing pieces together into one. And all it does is create separation. This is bad, we put it over there, we don't talk to it, and then we only focus on this. And it really annoyed the shit out of me. And in my journey, this is just another anecdote, I met what people are considered as bad people. And then when I got to know them, I'm like, well, you're not really a bad person. Your actions are judged by society as bad, but you're not a bad person in any way, shape, or form. And then I went to see the so-called angelic people, the people who are supposedly good, and I realized, well, these are like hustlers. They're using quote-unquote positive energy, quote-unquote angelic energy, to hustle people out of their attention just as a thief steals. Yet they get they're good people, and those are the bad people, but at the end of the day, they're doing technically the same thing. They're hustling, trying to find a way to survive according to their situation. They're doing it pretending they're righteous, and they, don't give a fuck. So I said, something's wrong. There's a hustle. And it really annoyed me. Because if there's one thing that the so-called angelic people, that means the good people, the righteous people do, is judge everybody. This is their weapon. They judge everybody. And righteousness isn't just like, I'm kind to people. No, it's you have a certain truism. For example, The proper way to eat is to eat raw vegan food. This is the truth. Therefore, if you do not eat raw vegan food, you are evil, and I am superior. There's righteousness. But the righteousness is made in the name of love, in the name of truth, in the name of health and healing and caring for animals and all of this. And everybody else is a piece of shit. And I said, wait a minute, this is kind of odd. This doesn't work for me. I don't like this. Because it's always creating two. So anyways, in my own self-exploration, I came about certain aspects of myself that would be considered negative or evil, demonic. And when I was honest with myself, I'm like, I really love this part of myself. Now, if it wasn't for the fact that this person or this group of people or society or this body in society judges this, I love that part. I love it. I love how it thinks. I love how it moves. I love how it expresses itself. I love its slang, its swag. I love its lifestyle. I love it. Now, I may not want that, but I may not want to live like this, but I love it. Then I went a little further. I said, well, if it wasn't for that part of myself, which is considered evil, protected me. It was a compensation. For years, let's pretend past lives exist. For past thousands of lives, this thing that people call evil protected me. When I was in a desperate situation or I was weak and I didn't have access to certain inner resources, this thing came and protected me and helped me to get through the desert. Now you people who know nothing about who I am judge that part of me and say it's evil and it has no place here and it's unspiritual and it's unmoral and unethical. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, this is my... If it wasn't for that thing, I wouldn't have gotten across the desert. I would have died. And now you want me to condemn this part of myself who saved my life? Then you want me to throw it out and pretend I'm the opposite? So this is where you see the discrepancy in people and their bullshit spirituality. Where's the love? If spirituality and so-called righteousness is about love, they don't even have love for the parts that live inside themselves. They don't love the so-called demons. So there's always lies. That's what I'm trying to say. And I realized, no, you know what? I love that part of myself. I love it because I got to know it. I discovered it. I know its heart. Yeah, it's right. It's like an alligator. It's particular, I agree, but nature created the alligator for a purpose. So it's an alligator. But you're looking at the alligator, pointing at it and say it's here evil because you expect it to be like a sheep. That's not a sheep, that's a goat. So you're upset at the alligator because in your opinion there should only be goats. No, fuck you, I don't accept this. So first of all, I'm not going to allow that kind of violence into my inner system. In my inner world, I don't allow this bullshit because you're clearly insane. You live in dichotomy, you're divided, you want to pretend that there's only so-called light, you want to pretend that so-called darkness is not there, yet it comes together, and you pretend that this is harmony when you keep two things separate and you squeeze yourself in one extreme. And then you want to pretend that that is righteous, and as if the so-called demonic energies, meaning the dark energies, not evil, don't express themselves unconsciously through your being. And I've seen it. Look, dude, there are people who specialize. They've squeezed themselves in the so-called righteous way so deeply, and they've pushed themselves to such an extreme, and they've removed from their consciousness, as far as humanly possible, all those so-called bad energies. Yet if you're perceptible, you perceive, you'll be like, no, this is a hustle. And that person can be like held up as one of the most holiest persons in the world. I'm like, no, you hustler, just a different kind of hustle. And on top of that, your hustle pretends to be righteous, which really annoys me. It's like something that's why we discussed last session about prostitutes. It's something I always appreciated. It's like nobody pretends not to be what they are. Yeah, okay, at a deeper level, of course, but at the basic level, I'm a hoe. You client or you're whoever nobody's acting like I'm a holy girl, I'm a virgin, I'm pure. No, I'm a slut, and then that is understood and everybody relaxes. So when it comes to the so-called righteous people, that front is there. And I find it very deceptive. So in my own exploration, I came to those realizations. I'm like, these are energies within myself. Why do you or the world outside or these so-called ideologies that pretend to be spiritual or divine or from the divine judge and condemn them? I don't understand. You just said you are on the path of God, which, as we've said, God is love and love is God and everything is made by God, yet this is not God. This is against God. So that's why if you listen to the videos I've done before, every time I talk about dharma and then I talk about the system, and then there's a form of polarity, and I said, but there's a macro vision and a macro vision, which we haven't addressed yet, because all of this fits into one coherent vision. But right now, that's not the level we're speaking of, but just so that we're clear about this. So that always bothered me, and it created inside of me a schism. What do I do with this part of myself? It should be transformed. Well, how do you transform something? First of all, if you don't know the essence of it, if you don't have love for it, and you cannot make something else than what it is. You can elevate it, meaning you take it and then you make it the supreme version of itself, but you cannot make it into something else. And this is what your average person does. There's a duality. This shouldn't be this way, it should be this way. A demon shouldn't be demonic, it should be an angel. No, but God made the so-called demon. So now you have to pretend that these energies are not there. So by default, you are a hypocrite, you repress, and you're scared of something. And sooner or later, you'll come across a person with those energies, and you're scared of these people. So now that you have the armor of God, you're scared of these people, or you have to approach them from your judgmental place, and you have the light to help them, right? You can't just be like Jesus, hanging out with the prostitutes and the thieves and feel at home. And that really bothers me. And I'll tell you why you can't. Because you don't recognize that you have that within yourself. That you are also that. That may not be my life path. It may not be the energies that have taken command of my karma or my destiny, but they are in me, and I don't feel superior to you in any way, shape, or form. It's in me. And it would have been a different screw, a different circumstances, I'd be you. So that always affected me and bothered me. And when I was pretending or trying to make these things into something else, I became insane, because now you're trying to be something you're not. And some people have an immense, absolute stubborn willpower, and they will know, I will never stop. This has to be no longer there because this is the truth. And I have that in me, but I'm also very astute to what's happening to myself. I'm like, this is not going to work. I've seen people who've been like in ashrams for 20 some years, and beneath the facade, they're as quote unquote demonic or horny as the next person. So what's the point? So I put this approach aside, and instead I decided to embrace the different energies within myself and discover them. And also discover what they've brought in my life, or my lives, if you'd like. What's our relationship? What's the contract also? And also realize that there's a form of love relationship. If something saves your life, you love it. You cannot help yourself. It may not allow you to proceed further. Once I discovered ganja saved my life. That's why I love it, and I will always love it. It held me when I needed it so bad. It's a medicine. It held me, and I was so desperate. I was in such a hard place. It held me there and gave me lots of insights, and gave me a moment so I could breathe, in a way reclaim certain parts of myself, even if they were in a haze, and open myself up for something new. And I knew it from the start. And then I had to move forward. I couldn't take the ganja with me because it was a limitation. I would turn around and say I despise the weed. I'm like, never despised the weed. The weed is the weed, right? So I have love for it. And if alignment is about energy circulating, and it's about the truth, and we said that God is love and love is God and life is God, so there has to be love, and there you are. If you don't love those parts of yourself, you got a problem. Not a fake love with your mind pretending to love things like a new age or hippie. No, I'm talking about genuine appreciation. I'm like, if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for the weed, I'm not here today. And for me, the weed serves my teacher and serves my path and was put on my path to get me from point A to point B. I cannot stay with the weed to get to where I want to go, but it took me from point A to point B, so it is a blessed compensation. It is a blessed bad thing. It's not bad at all, it's just a weed. And I feel that it's the same with everything else. So when you explore yourself and you explore your psyche and you explore your tendencies, what your average religious persona is going to say, these are bad things, you need to remove them, you'll never succeed. It's impossible. Because that's not how it works. The job is unification. This is the process of healing. This is the process of yoga. It's a process of bringing together things into one. You don't remove everything to achieve oneness. You bring all the pieces into one. So the so-called bad things need to come together and function within the whole, within the thread. So I discovered that these are beautiful energies. They're alligator-like in some circumstances. And they have their own way of thinking and operating, which is not the same as a butterfly, if we use insects or animals as analogies. And that energy wants the same thing as everything else in life. It wants love. And if you, this is your house, and these energies live within the temple, some are activated, some are less activated, some will be activated and whatnot, but this is your house and you have to manage, you're the master of this temple, and you can't love your subjects. So what kind of master are you? If that's what that energy wants. It wants love, just like everything. It wants your love, like a genuine appreciation. And when you do that, you know what it does? It becomes like let's say you have I don't have an example of a movie. The alligator becomes your pet. That's what I'm trying. Because it's happy. This is a good master. He loves me. And it transforms. The alligator becomes something else than the alligator. It's still an alligator, and in an instant it could be an alligator, and in a moment you can activate the alligator for the fun of it, or to engage with another alligator who's not being responsive to your non-violence or your just presence. So because now my alligator game is superior to anybody else's alligator game, because it's me and the alligator as one. We have double power. So it's not to say the alligator is dead. No, it's there. It's my pet. And the alligator, then you discover, has a function, is to make sure there's a balance. Anyways, all this to say, so in the journey of self-discovery, I've noticed that a lot of people have a tendency to judge and idealize certain qualities. It's not I don't understand. I'm like, but you cannot achieve those so-called qualities by denying what you're made of, your constitution, and the basic world of black and white. You don't achieve a supreme state by going towards the white. And this is what most people do. This is black and white. There is no such thing as a supreme state is beyond the duality. And you don't achieve beyond duality with your mind, but by understanding how white and black are the two hands of the same body, and what is the guiding spirit that uses those energies to help you advance. I find that more satisfactory, it appeases my heart, it brings smoothness, and more importantly, it makes me accepting of other people who may be in different circumstances and those energies are particularly active in them. So like in the case of Jesus, I can hang out with a hustler or a thief. They're just people. These are their circumstances, but there's no fear. Why should I have fear? Because these energies are bad and then they will leave imprints on you and you are the company you keep. Okay, well, what to say?